aka Diz, and this is The Force Always.
Okay, so welcome to the Star Wars news. Let's get right into it. Early this morning, Australian time that is, we got the notice around the world of Star Wars new images for Episode 9. And we also got a behind the scenes, and that was via Good Morning America and Vanity Magazine. The images will be found in Vanity Magazine. The magazine will be released very shortly with a Rey cover. That's Rey the character, and Kylo Ren cover. Vanity Magazine, check that one out. Some great images came across from the Good Morning America and Vanity Magazine. A couple of highlight ones, I think, was the first sighting of the Knights of Ren, which all the hardcore fans are just curious what's going to happen with that. Also, the two great images, I thought, even though they're nothing surprising, but two great images was the Luke Skywalker and R2-D2, and Luke is not in the Force Ghost, which sort of makes me question how they're going to deal with Luke Skywalker in this particular episode, because I'm sure they haven't put that image out for no reason. And the part also is R2-D2 is not with C-3PO, which makes me even think more that C-3PO is not going to be any longer with us after this episode, as I think the character could be killed off. It's a high suspicion, not a prediction, just a high suspicion, because I'm just hearing, seeing, feeling sort of things. So yeah, and the other image which was great, which was a pose, a more painting pose of Rey with a lightsaber and Kylo Ren with a lightsaber sort of dueling in some sort of watery area. So they look fantastic. I don't think it gave us a whole lot of massive insight to the movie. It gave us a bit of a look-see, which is good, and also makes me think we could be getting a trailer or teaser, another teaser, sooner than we think, rather than towards the end of the year, because I think that if you're going to have Mandalorian coming out in November on the Disney Plus network, and you're going to have Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, coming out in December, that's a lot of advertising for two different types of Star Wars events, you could say, and it may get a little bit confused. So I think they may sort of do some early advertising with Episode 9, hold back, pump the Mandalorian advertising, then during the release of the Mandalorian, which is in November, sort of start advertising heavily with the Rise of Skywalker, maybe on that show, or from there onwards, thinking. So yeah, so that's what's made big news today, Star Wars behind the scenes, in a sort of brief sort of way, and a whole lot of images via Vanity Magazine, and those magazines should be coming out to a neighborhood in your neck of the woods soon. To more news, Game of Thrones has been really the talk of the planet, and before that it was Endgame. As now those two things are out of the way, Star Wars will make its way a bit harder, I think, eventually. But Game of Thrones Season 8, which I never saw, but did get a lot of mixed reviews, a lot of views that were sort of saying that was a rushed, or because the actual Benioff and Weiss, who are about to take on a Star Wars project that will be released in 2022, they thought they rushed it to get the Star Wars thing happening. It's only what everyone has thought. Whatever. The reason why I'm mentioning this Game of Thrones thing is because it's connected to Star Wars now because of the Benioff and Weiss, whatever you like to say. So they are now going to be sort of really looking towards Star Wars now. Game of Thrones is over. Season 8, mixed reaction. I didn't see it, I don't know. But I'm sure it's fun-filled entertainment. Nothing against it either. I just didn't have a whole lot of time to spare to check that out. Anyway, to more news. 205-ish, that's ish, 205-ish days to go to The Rise of Skywalker. Star Wars Episode 9, the final absolute episode. This is what they're saying for the Skywalker saga. The Rise of Skywalker Episode 9 is about 205-ish days away. So there'll be plenty of news on this channel to come. And if you do want to contact the channel, just look down here, the Instagram or Twitter you can contact me on, or possibly via the YouTube channel itself. But anyway, that's a little bit of extra news there. To more news, The Phantom Menace, Episode 1, which came out in '99. Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, passed its 20th anniversary in the last week. I'll be giving you a little bit of a review of that. I have spoken about it before, but it's the 20th anniversary for The Phantom Menace. I can't believe it's 20 years. It is like it was yesterday that it opened, but it's amazing. One prized possession I have from that particular time is that I went to a, as we call here, KFC. Maybe in your neck of the woods you call it Kentucky Fried Chicken, like back in the 80s. But I did get a Pepsi can with a Darth Maul picture on it, and it was a collector's type can, and I've still got it. And it is filled with the Pepsi still. So Darth Maul Pepsi, that's what I got. It was one of my prized Star Wars Episode 1 collectibles way back then, 20 years on, and that Pepsi has survived. It's somewhere around this studio, let's say, but it's tucked away, so I don't have it right now. But anyway, that's one of the prized things I got. So that's the Star Wars news for this time around. Let's get into the views. Views is not about predictions. Views is not about YouTube amount of views. It's just my story ideas on elements of the story. I would like to talk a bit more about the images that we had come in today. You could see a whole lot of story possibilities out of that I would like to create, but I'm going to stick to my original plan for this week. Darth Maul to be in Episode 9. Now, this sounds crazy, bizarre, and how can it be done? He'll be so old. It can be done. He can age. Now, I know he's technically dead again, but I still think that to have Darth Maul in this as a concluding sort of thing to Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, would just add that sort of closure to his character. If he does come back in and still has that sort of revengeful sort of feel to his character and somehow survived again, but then in this particular one needs to be absolutely destroyed. It's the type of character that could keep coming back annoyingly, I think. It can work. It's a bit out there, but it can happen. I would like to see Darth Maul reappear just for the sake of his character's storyline, which is revenge and sort of came back from the dead. Why not again? I think it can happen. And it would be a surprise. It would be a surprise to a story like that. Would be sort of almost like Darth Vader announcing that he was Luke's father. You know, so it's just a surprise. It's like, oh my goodness. And as we got a little taste of him in Solo, a Star Wars story, it sort of just shows that it could work in a movie still to this day. And strangely enough, at Star Wars Celebration in Chicago 2019, I got a photo op with Ray Park, who played Darth Maul, and the Emperor, Ian McDermott, as a double up photo. And also I got an autograph from Ray Park. I got him to sign, can you believe it, sign the exclusive Darth Maul Hasbro figure from there. And I did ask him before he signed the actual Darth Maul figure. I said, are you in Episode 9? Just, you know, as a casual question. I mean, I wish I did take this. He strongly said no, but I still felt that he was a bit taken by my question, and I sort of had to think for a moment. So to me, when I asked Ray Park, are you in episode 9? He did say no, but he did hold a little, and I just, it could be that we see Ray Park as Darth Maul in episode 9. It'd be interesting. I think it would be a great part of the story, but yeah, so that's my story idea this time around. I'd like to see Darth Maul come back in a revengeful way, as he always does, coming back from the dead yet again, but somehow being destroyed, not the very end of the film, but close to the end. I think if we've got the actual Emperor there that is still alive, let's say that should be the last evil death to, get rid of evil once and for all. Anyway, that's my story idea for this time around. That's the views for this time around. So let's get into reviews. Reviews is about Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. It came out in 1999. It was a very interesting time. It was just after the special editions. The hype from during and after the special editions really rejuvenated Star Wars in a massive way. It was just amazing time. It was like, oh my god, this is way before iPhones, way before anything that was social media that was relatable to normal society. And look, I made my way to the only THX certified cinema here in Melbourne, Australia, which was an area called Knox, and it was apparently a THX cinema. It was just great to be in that sort of environment, watching the episodes of special edition, but then getting the announcement of The Phantom Menace episode 1 in 99. When I saw it many times, as I traditionally do with Star Wars films, even if I don't like it or do like it. I actually gave the film 6 out of 10 then, and I still give it 6 out of 10. If anything, it's a dry film, but it has interesting points. I personally think the whole C-3PO sort of being built by Anakin, I think it's a good idea, personally. I think it's sort of like it's one of those interesting storylines. I mean, it's a bit unbelievable in some way, but I do like the idea, and it has a believability to it. I like that. I thought, again, I'll say this, and I said this actually to the Jar Jar Binks actor. Oh my god, it's his name has escaped me. I actually said to him, I had more of a problem with Darth Maul than Jar Jar Binks when the movie came out. Only because I thought the Darth Maul character looked like a crazed basketball fan. And I thought Jar Jar Binks was just another wild, wacky alien. I mean, yes, it was a bit annoying, but it's never actually got to be. And to be honest, Jar Jar Binks, other than Darth Vader, is probably the most iconic character in Star Wars history. And I don't think in regards to favourite, but obviously it's the most talked about character other than Darth Vader. I'd even rank it higher than Darth Maul. But I think the treatment of actors who go into Star Wars is not the best coming out of it. Jake Lloyd, who played the young Anakin, I thought he did a great job. I thought he fit the role. I mean, Anakin had to be sort of fun, happy, kid-like. That's it. That was the whole look to the character that fitted to me. But at that time, I think the only element that he looked like from his the older version of him, which was technically in Return of the Jedi, which when we saw the mask taken off and we saw the very pale, crinkly guy, his eyebrows were the strong point. Back then, there was actually now a version without the eyebrows, because technically they forgot about being singed off, but they were very strong eyebrows in the original Return of the Jedi, and Jake Lloyd had those type of eyebrows, and I think he carried the role pretty good. I give it still 6 out of 10. I did see it many times. It's one of the prequels that I watch time and time again and enjoy it. There's parts to it that cringe. The worst part to me is the Gungan battle in the day sort of battle scene towards the end. It sort of feels a bit too animated, and it feels a little bit like Windows 95, the actual look. But I still accept the story for what it is. I think it was a great story. I think it's classic and it's iconic. It mirrored really episode 4 and technically Force Awakens, which that's Star Wars. It's a cycling of life. And the psychology still was good in it. Yeah, so 6 out of 10 for The Phantom Menace. Still to this day, 20 years after, I do play it every so often, and I still think it's a 6 out of 10. That's my review for this time around. Let's get in now into the interviews. It's a 2Q, that's 2 questions we'll ask myself for you guys out there. Now, Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, is coming out at the end of this year. What will happen if it fails, like miserably, like at the box office, the reception from the critics or the fans or the just general movie audience? What happens if it fails? I think Star Wars will be in big trouble. But the only thing that's going to save it at that point is if The Mandalorian, which kicks in about a month before, is good and can hold people on. It would be the skin of the teeth if The Mandalorian does, really create a good vibe. If it doesn't and goes into Star Wars Episode 9 and that doesn't, Star Wars is in trouble. And I think there'll be heads that roll, unfortunately. I mean, I'm not one for, having heads roll because one thing or 2 things don't succeed. I think the eye of the creator is very important. You've got to accept for what they're trying to convey, and that's why I sort of like The Last Jedi. I respect and accept his version of events. But anyway, going back, whatever Episode 9 fails, it will be in trouble. I wouldn't be surprised if they shut down completely till that year 2022. I'm sure that will still go ahead. There's still money to be made from Star Wars. So, it will be in trouble. That's what I think. If Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker fails and Mandalorian keeps going on, it would be just holding on the skin of the teeth. If both fail, it'll be in trouble. Anyway, my next question is if Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker succeeds, what will happen? I think they will announce more things that they have ready to go. They're just waiting for the reaction of Star Wars. I think the enthusiasm within Lucasfilm and Disney right now for Star Wars is probably a bit low because Marvel has just really destroyed anyone's hopes of getting close at the moment. So I think the enthusiasm is not there. I think the Star Wars fans, hardcore fans, are still rocking. They want the best, but there is a little bit being lost at the moment since The Last Jedi. There's nothing that we're hanging on to see what happens in a real sort of way. But if it succeeds, I think they will announce more things that will happen in between those years that have been announced already. 2022, 2024, 2026. I think they'll announce something else, or maybe in between those years. I wouldn't be surprised, so then it will just create a once every year thing. But if it does succeed, I really implore them to take on the year 2027, as that will be the 50th anniversary for Star Wars. If they released Episode 10 in that year, that's Episode 10 in the year of Star Wars being 50 years old, that would be iconic. I've said this to the story group writer named Matt Martin. I've said it to amongst hardcore fans, friends. I think it would really work. It would be a great combination of 2 events happening at the same time that would really pump Star Wars in a fun way. Not to make more money from it, but just fun anyway. So that's the interviews 2Q for this week. I'm here on a weekly basis with this Star Wars news, views, reviews, interviews. Please, Instagram me if you like. Just down here's my details, and also Twitter if you like, or contact me by YouTube with any questions you may have. Subscribe to this channel, The Force Always, only on YouTube. Until next time, keep rocking.